more or less not a good comparison.
Okay.
We have been able to lower or to spur the production in terms of our staple food, in terms of maize. There is a lot more that we have done. If you look at the cost of cooking oil currently, it is much lower than we got it. We are also addressing the cost of and the production of rice and all the other staples that we take. And in all these aspects, our drive is not on the shelf. Our drive is more on the shamba.
So when,
because to attack the cost of living, you start with the stomach. Because the stomach is the most reactive. And to attack that side, you end up spending much more money. When you become interventionist, you go to the shelf. We are going to the production side. Production side in terms of inputs. After inputs, we are going, of course, into now medium-term measures, which is now the provision of irrigation water across. So there is a lot more happening in that sphere. The effects may not be felt within a month, but at least now after 1 year there is some effect, and that effect will continue to be felt. However, as I wrap up that point, we must never confuse the issue of inflation by the cost of commodities rising, because inflation is too faceted. Inflation is in terms of prices, but also incomes. That is why, for example, when you go to our Kenya, when you go to any kiosk or a supermarket, the cost of bread in Kenya is much, much cheaper than the cost of bread, for example, in the US. But you cannot blame the US and say then the inflation is too high. That is why the cost of bread is too high there. Because inflation is also a factor of incomes. For example, we have given our farmers fertilizer, and therefore we anticipate a high yield in terms of maize. Maize may actually not fall to where it was before we gave fertilizer. What does that mean? It therefore means you have to look at this side in terms of revenues for our farmers, even as you talk about the cost for the consumer. Because ultimately, with the time, the cost of everything goes higher. But what is important is that these costs and prices, as they go higher, they must carry the revenues of people, they must carry the incomes of the people upwards also.
So, Mheshimiwa, in all this, I mean, these interventions, we've seen some, I mean, opinion still remains varied among Kenyans on the efficacy of this implementation. How soon can we be, before, I mean, because we are heading to the home stretch of the conversation, how soon can we then start seeing a situation whereby all these promises that you made, especially under the model of the Kenya Kwanza government, will be sort of embraced, with the hustlers not feeling that they have been forgotten?
Let me tell you for a fact, George, because I have had an opportunity to interact with the Kenyans across. I wish we can remove this debate from this posh studio one day, and then we go to where the bulk of Kenyans actually live. 70% of Kenyans are in rural areas. All these are our parents, our brothers and sisters. They are partakers in agriculture, and actually farming segment of agriculture. I can tell you the conversation is very different. Farmers of Kenya have actually already reaping, the fruits of our plan. Because through the increased yield, they are the first line beneficiaries. Secondly, Kenyans across even